Hello, my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to another indie book review. We're just gonna ignore that it's been like a month since I've done one of these. So today, I am reviewing Guard Dogs by Freya Faust. This is the sequel to Stray Dogs, the very dark, very queer urban paranormal series, all about these magicians or mages living with this secret organization. Now, if you're interested in the first one, I will have that review down in the description below, but we are going to talk a lot about the spoilers from that book, so this is your warning here. Now, this book picks up a little ways after the last one left off. If you will remember, in the first one, you had the Burke siblings who once worked for what they call the wet works, basically like the black ops, assassination-y type stuff, finding out that there was corruption in the system. They weren't actually part of the system. They thought they were. They revealed it. There were big fights. And then they actually went legit. And this book begins with them as the heads of their own division and a lot of differences in the way the system now works. Rather than all mages who don't operate within the order automatically being like bad and killed off, there's a lot more options for them. There's a lot more options for mages to be brought in. It's very much a reforming the system subplot in all of this that I really liked. And it's definitely got some political themes, but nothing necessarily overt if all you're looking for is just more fun, dramatic, dark urban fantasy stuff. But it's also very notable right off the bat that the dynamic that the Burkes had in the first one is still very much there, but Morgan's not great at being a leader. Like right off the bat you get that. And she's always been the more empathetic, but also the more off-the-cuff, loose cannon type, and Desmond is a little bit more logical, and he in my mind, I always saw Desmond as the one actually in charge, and they just kind of like let Morgan also be in charge because they're siblings, and like, why not? But I loved all of the new characters coming in. I mean, Pete with his frat bro, whatever, that's never been my favorite kind of character archetype, fine. I also love that Katie Geist at first glance is like, oh, she's possibly a romantic interest to Desmond. Like they have a couple moments and like, I'm wondering, but nothing overt. But she has this like unabashed obsession with death and the macabre in that kind of upbeat goth way that I love. You also have Iris, who is pretty much autistically coded tech character type. Like she turns her cubicle into basically a sensory cave, like making it just the right kind of lighting and putting a blanket over the top with specific kinds of lights and that kind of stuff. And usually when that gets brought up in any books, I'm real iffy at first, but thankfully it did not go over the top. She was there. She was a part of the story. It did not turn her into a caricature. So we're good. Because I was on the lookout for that. There's also a new step in Lara's gender identity. He, she, they are gender nonconforming. And I never know how to discuss fictional characters that are that, because to my knowledge, when a real person is gender non-conforming, generally you do your best to engage with them on the basis of whatever gender they are currently feeling, if they are that kind of gender career switching. But fictional characters exist in a weird place where they are all things at all the time, because the book is a standard thing that any reader could be at any point in. So I'm just going to say they, because I don't, sure, they. And it is not as big a theme as Morgan's transition was in the first book. And Morgan, as a character in this one, is pretty well established in her gender identity, which is really nice to see. I also find it really funny that a lot of the talk around shifters is just like, yeah, shifters just kind of do this. Like, shifters just, apparently all shifters are queer, gender nonconformists. I don't know. But I found that really amusing a lot of the time. But of course, we gotta talk about the plot. This one sees what at first appeared to be a standard mystery, you know, kind of the Burkes and their new Midwest division, or what Morgan calls guard dogs, getting their taste of a first big case because one of the 9, the big council's family members, has gone missing and they got to track it down. And of course, rogue mages are involved and all that kind of stuff. And it was a really fun magic police procedural, I guess you could say. But, and of course, I'm not going to spoil anything, there's like a kind of subplot, which you think it's just a subplot at the beginning with like little clues sprinkled in, and Desmond is noticing some things, and somebody else is noticing some things, and then it comes to fruition in like the final third. And the reveal of all those little clues of what you thought was just a subplot becomes the plot for the last third of the book. And I was not prepared to the extent that I literally put the book down for weeks because, as you may know, being around my channel for a hot minute, I've been in a weird mental place. But actually, over the month of April, I was in a really good place. And so my thought process was, this new good place is very new, and I'm not gonna shake it, so I'm not gonna engage with this very dark media right now, just in case. Rest assured, though, it was properly gigantic and dramatic, and I was like, and I was writing like, no, in my notes. It was great. Thankfully, once I got back to it, it didn't affect my mental health at all. We're still currently in the good place, you know, knock on wood. But the last third of the book is just plot twists, secret reveals, and weird stuff, and it's very much bigger conspiracy type stuff. It reminded me a little bit of if you've ever watched the TV show Burn Notice, how every episode of that show would have like the regular case for most of the episode, but then there'd be like some little through line that connected to the larger, bigger, more dramatic and secret quest in the background. And that's kind of what this felt like. Like you had the cool case that was the division kind of getting to stretch their legs and show what they can do, but then there was also like a bunch of stuff related to what happened in the first book stretching forward. And I really, really liked that dynamic because it gave enough room for to show the characters and to let all the new characters be introduced and kind of settle in before all of the new secrets and new reveals and new plot twists came out. It felt very natural. All in all, I loved the writing style of this. Desmond, Morgan, and the new point of view character, Katie, all felt very succinct and very distinct in their characterizations. You could tell who was talking even if you missed the name at the beginning of the chapter or whatever. And the plot had gigantic battle scenes, which I love, and just huge reveals that kept me on the edge of my seat. And of course you had an epilogue with yet more reveals that hinted at big stuff moving forward. There was some major bittersweet tear-jerking vibes at one point as well, like just gigantic storytelling, which, again, if you've been around for a hot minute, you know that's one of my favorites. Endings with explosions and big reveals, like that giant stuff. I love it. So I love this book, and I'm really excited to be continuing with it. Obviously, I gave this book 5 stars. I would love to continue with it. Oh, before I forget though, and I probably should have included this in the beginning, there is one singular moment of dead naming in the book, and it is very dramatic, and it is given the proper gravitas, and it is treated as the horrible thing it is, obviously because the author is trans, but if that is something that you need to be aware of, just make note of that. But regardless, loved this series. I'm so excited for the next one. Obviously, Miss Faust, if you would like to send that to me, please. I'm open. Well, no, I'm not really. I'm actually getting close to having to close again. But I will stay open for this one. Regardless, highly suggest it. Now, like I mentioned before, I'm getting close to closing, but who knows, maybe this new good frame of mind will lead to more review books. I don't know. I am making no promises. But if you are an indie author and you would like a review like this one, feel free to send me an email. I will have that information down in the description below. Remember to also read the review policy. It answers a lot of questions and saves us a lot of time. And with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.